We just have 3 more days in this month of tea brewing, celebrating January, the hot tea month. It's also the 3rd day that I'm focusing a little bit more on the Japanese teas. And I'm doing so with my cast iron teapot and a Japanese tea that's very popular called Genmaicha. This also has a really neat story to it. Originally, the cast iron teaware was used as a water kettle for heating the water rather than as a teapot, because even though it was shaped the same way, this could sit directly on the heat source. If it was a charcoal brazier or a fire with a flame, and it was thought and believed that actually boiling the water in this cast iron pot will change the flavor of the water. As a kettle, this cast iron teaware was called a tetsubin, and it has sort of modernized, been evolved into where it's used more as a teapot. And frequently, instead of leaving the unfinished cast iron surface, you'll look and see the inside the pot and see an enameled surface on the interior. It's my feeling that restaurants are choosing this only because it kind of looks like a manly man teapot, but it doesn't break. And it really does present a very nice appearing tea service. The one thing that would be different about cast iron and porcelain is that you would almost never see any kind of a strainer or filter in the spout or in the connection with the spout and the body. There aren't really little holes, because this has been cast as a single piece of metal. That would be virtually impossible. And there are some times where they'll be now fitted with the mesh strainers that will fit down inside, hold the tea, put the lid on top. Today I'm going to be using my own strainer and my favorite teacup, and as I said, this Genmaicha. So about the Genmaicha, and actually some other teas that have ingredients that are mixed in. Genmaicha has a green sencha, but along with roasted rice kernels, puffed rice kernels. Some of them are popped and look like little popcorn, others not yet popped. When you have ingredients like this that have different densities and different weights, when they settle in a package, you can find that the heavier ingredients are going to settle to the bottom, the lighter ones on the top. And so I actually do give it kind of a good shake before I measure, because I don't want to come out with a spoonful of all rice and no tea. And we'll add our water. It's a green tea, so less than boiling water. Genmaicha also tends to be one of those teas that's very forgiving. If your water's a little too hot or you leave it a little bit too long, it doesn't tend to get as bitter as some other green teas. One way to tell the story of Genmaicha, but that a very powerful samurai warrior also really loved his tea, and he was very meticulous about the way in which it was served. And one day when his tea was being served by his very faithful servant, who always prepared his tea perfectly, a couple of grains of rice that the servant had kept stored in his sleeve just for his own purposes to nibble fell into the tea. And this was a sort of offense that the servant knew instantly the samurai warrior could ask for his head. But in this case, as the story is usually told, the samurai warrior picked up the container, picked up the tea, took a sip of his tea, and pronounced that it was the most delicious tea he had ever tasted, and thanked the servant, and so from then on we've had Genmaicha tea. Now, when I decant this, when I serve this, since, as I said, there's not a strainer here. We also have the little pieces of rice as well as the leaves of the tea. I am going to use my bamboo strainer And now, my last time for the purposes of these demonstrations, that I will enjoy my favorite cup. And one of my all-time favorite teas.